This episode of the Naperville Moms Network is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, the Downtown Naperville Alliance. Be in the mix.
Welcome to the Naperville Moms Network. My co-hosts Erica, Sarita, Patty, and I are happy you're here. This month's segment is about babysitting and what that means for your family and your teens. Erica, your kids are the youngest. How do you guys navigate this in your house?
Sure. My two children are 7 and 4, so we will be needing babysitters for a few years to come. You know, we have to say no to a lot of things. We kind of pick and choose what is important to us. My husband and I do a lot of things separately, so we kind of divide and conquer that way. We are fortunate that my parents do live about 20-25 minutes from us, and they are both newly retired. Yay. So that's really nice.
Do you want a part-time job?
Right. Can I give you that part-time job? By the way, it doesn't pay very well. But you know, if it's, an event is in the evening, I actually don't really like asking my parents to just sit there. If you're grandparents or family, you want to be interacting with the children. Right. So, you know, if it's something where we're not leaving until 8 o'clock, I would rather have a babysitter. And it is tough. It's tough to find a good match. You know, and I have a 7-year-old who will tell me everything. You know, she will tell me so-and-so was on Snapchat the entire time, and she knows what Snapchat is. So really, as moms, as parents, we're just looking for sitters who can play. Just get down and dirty and play, because as a mom, you know, I'm doing 50 million things and I can't always get down there and play as much as they'd like. So just, it's really a quite simple job description.
For
sure. Just to be responsible and have fun.
Well, not, you know, go back way back when I was being babysat by other people, we had specific babysitters that were like, oh my goodness, can you get Sue? Can you get Michelle? They were two sisters, because they would come over and they would play cheerleader with us. They would roller skate around the basement 100 million times, listening to music. And so we knew, to your point, they were going to play. And then we had babysitters that scared me. You know, I very specifically remember a babysitter. She was eating sugar babies, you know, those little candies. And I just asked her, could I have one? She's like, do you know the name of them? And I'm like, no. And she made me guess what the name of it was for like an hour.
And you then, remember this?
Yeah, and she was horrible. I'm like, I just wanted to try one. And so there's a big difference of a babysitter that's just sitting there. Some of ours would be on the landline, you know, with like the stretchable cord.
But or have their boyfriend or
whatever. I don't remember anyone having that happen. But I think the ones that play and the ones that were interacting and actually seemed like they were enjoying spending time with your kids is really the way to go. But it's hard to find.
Well, and my son is the one that's always, he's in college now, but he was the one that was always asked to be the sitter. Like friends would call and say, is Nate available? Because of that aspect. Like Nate was just waiting in his life for an opportunity to play. Like this was like his dream. But that's what, you know, and we talked, as a parent, when you send your kid out to babysit, you know, there was lots of conversation about rules and respect and all of those things. But the other one was, you know, have fun with them. And the best was that we have some friends of ours who used to use my son quite often, and their little girls, they were all out in the backyard and they were catching lightning bugs. And my son was really good because, you know, he was 18 and you're really good at catching lightning bugs. And they said, oh, you're the best lightning bug catcher. And he's like, well, I was a professional lightning bug catcher. And the girls believed it, and they told the whole neighborhood, and my friend was sitting out with the moms and hearing this conversation, and she called and said, you know, your son used to be a professional lightning bug catcher. He's super talented in so many ways. But I think that was the whole idea, was that he just lived into the world that the kids were living into, and they always wanted that back.
And you know, from the perspective, Erica, having kids who are at the age that they can babysit, and I feel that nowadays the kids in high school are so busy with extracurricular activities and the demands of schoolwork that they don't really have the time to babysit, and I wish they did, because as much as it's fun for your kids, there's on the other spectrum for the older kids to be playing with younger kids, coming down to their level of that simplicity and just enjoying and being a big brother or sister to some of the younger kids. I wish we could go back to that simpler time when, you know, high school kids had that opportunity to babysit.
I see that all the time. I mean, you know, you find someone, and typically the ones who are the best babysitters are the busiest.
Because they're good at everything.
Right,
you know,
and they're
responsible.
You know, they're involved, responsible, and just keeping up with their social lives and extracurriculars, and it's tough. And then they have the audacity to get up and go to college. I mean, just once you find a good one, then they graduate and they're off.
Right? A few years ago on our mom forum group, I swear every fourth question that was asked is, we need a part-time sitter. Does anyone know a nanny or something like that? And when a question is asked over and over and over, I tend to break off another subgroup under Naperville Moms Network to be able to just focus those questions to that. And so we have about 5,000 members on this group that either teenagers or nannies and parents can connect. Now, there's no background checks. It's just an initial starting phase. But it amazed me how many times people would reach out to me personally and say, we can't find a nanny, or so often they would have one set up and the day before the person would cancel. And so I know it's been a really big challenge for people. When my kids were younger, we only needed someone 3 days a week. We didn't have any family around or anything like that, or anyone extended that was able to help out. And so we had a friend of ours that contacted us that had a nanny, but she didn't need her anymore full time. Her kids were getting older. She only wanted her 2 days a week. And the other 3 days were the perfect setting for the days that I was working outside of the house and at the practice. And she became like part of our family. But that we just fell into that. So I know it's a big challenge for families. There's companies like care.com. There's a company in Naperville called College Sitters that helps connect, but I know it's one of those things that can be really difficult.
Well, and it's not like it was when, you know, I was little, where everyone in the neighborhood knew each other, because everyone lived in that neighborhood forever. And so you sort of kind of knew.
They just
all
rode
the
their bikes over.
They did. And so, you know,
you.
Susie's daughter would come over and babysit or something. And now we're such a transient community, and neighborhoods don't stay like that anymore. But I think it is really hard. You can't just call the neighbor down the street who has older kids, because it's somebody new and it's somebody different. And I think it's probably way harder to navigate than it was back in the day.
There's also that chunk of time before school or after school, right?
Absolutely.
And I know for our kids, once they got to 6th grade, like Christopher was in 6th grade and Nick was in 4th grade, and there's no YMCA after school program. So for parents that are working where they don't, the kids are actually in school, it's just another challenge. I see people going, hey, can someone come to my house from 6 to 7:30? You know, that's hard. You know, that's not a lot of work time, you know, for someone that's trying to find a job as a nanny. But sometimes those little gaps are the ones that they need the most.
I have seen posts. We use the Nextdoor app in our neighborhood, and a lot of retirees also. You know, a grandmother type, maybe she doesn't have grandkids or whatever, and they'll say, that's perfect. I'd love to come from 6 to 7 and help out. So it's not, I think we automatically go to teenagers, but there's all different phases of life.
Even a mom, not even necessarily a grandmom, but sometimes you have a mom that's like, hey, my kids, like, I'm in high school. Like, if I had been a stay-at-home mom and I didn't have a career, I could see saying, oh, sure, you know, I can take Sally and Joe for a couple hours after school and get them a snack and help them with some homework and things like that. So that's a good thought process for local moms that might be looking for just a little extra work.
And that's what a lot of, I've had some friends kind of gripe about the after school programs not encouraging homework, you know, or anything like that. It's play, and they can't, you know, they have too many kids to take care of anyway. But that's what they need. But then the price, you know, that price tag associated with having someone private in your home to do that. And so there's just so many factors, you know, and babysitting itself, you know, I've seen people say, well, I won't pay above this. And I think, well, that's what I got. You know, 30 years ago. So it has to go up a little bit. My husband children will always say, we're paying them what? They said they're on the couch.
It's more expensive for me to pay the sitter than it is to go to the movies.
Which is why I'm saying no a lot of times.
Right.
And that's very true. By the time you add up going out with your spouse for dinner and add up how much it's going to cost you in babysitting, but I think you just have to just take those
Let it
breaks
go.
and go. You know, you can't put a cost because it's that time.
You're
especially
looking
when
at your watch, rounding up.
Yes. Okay, this chat is
Finish your
costing
drink.
us another $10. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's amazing just what we were talking about, how social media has made it so much easier for people to connect.
Yeah.
Even in our neighborhood, we have a social media page. And like you were saying, if there's a stay-home mom who has older kids or someone can kind of carpool, it's just great that the community can come together. The harder part, as you guys were saying, is knowing the credibility of whoever you're using is just a hard area to navigate, especially when you're leaving your kids with them.
I always thought it'd be a great idea, and I'm sure some people do this, but creating kind of a babysitting co-op with moms and young kids, right?
absolutely.
I mean, you have other mom friends that have kids similar ages, and if you really took the time to talk on the phone for a few minutes and be like, all right, for the next month, let's pick 4 days, and you take my kids 2 of those days, and I'll take your kids 2 of those days.
I have something to say about that.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done because
Really?
I'm someone who didn't like babysitting as a teenager. I don't really just.
So you don't want more kids in your house?
We've tried that, and
Right.
okay, this is going to sound like a braggy mom, and I don't want to sound that way. But let's just say the other mom was like, "Your kids were amazing. They were so fun. I'll take them anytime." And the sentiment was not the same on my end. I wanted to kill her children. She's no longer local, so I don't think she's listening to this. But I don't really necessarily want to watch other people's kids. Is that terrible? I'm a horrible person. Yes, that's okay. No,
I mean, you're being honest.
But then the other thing is, then what if you like those people? They're your friends. You want to go out together. We've done where we've shared a babysitter.
We do.
So a babysitter
I
will come
remember
over and
that.
watch all 4 children. That's great.
reasonable.
But I don't want to watch anyone else's kids.
Yeah, no, I can. I barely want to watch my own kids when they're that
Exactly.
age. I mean, it really was a challenging, I've said it before on the show, but it really was a challenging time for me. I mean, now at 15 and 16, man, the conversations we have, which some people would shy away from or not know how to handle, I'm like, bring it on.
Right.
What do you want to talk
Yeah,
about? What do you want me
right.
to help you navigate? You know, one of my sons was like, you're kind of like my counselor, you know, and I love
that.
But it's
I love
nice
being
to have
in
that open-
in that role.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
gosh, the Thomas the Train and the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse
with
and the
you
over
100%.
and over and over. Yeah, so.
There's a reason I taught high school, not little ones.
I think it's
No.
just as a parent, when our kids were younger, we have so much on our plate that it was hard to just in the moment just play and not think of everything else that needs to be done. But the other thing I was going to say is what my husband and I used to do is, you know, if you can't get a babysitter for the evening, a lot of times we would put the kids to bed, just order in food and watch a movie, or when they were in school during lunch, go, okay, let's just make it a lunch date. You know, if you're working from
Yes,
home,
that's a good idea.
kind of work around that.
Yep,
for
You know,
sure.
and make it doable if you can't always find a babysitter.
Yeah, we do
But I hear you, it's so different to find babysitters than it used to be.
Yep. Whether you are a mom looking for a sitter or nanny, or someone looking for a family to work for, we hope you connect with the right fit. We'll be right back with more of the Naperville Moms Network. Stay tuned.
This episode of the Naperville Moms Network is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor, the Downtown Naperville Alliance. Be in the mix.